So this is one part of a 3-part class. This is actually the class that we take your team through when we do inside sales training. If you're part of the platform program, this is one of the classes that you go through. There's no sales pitch to this webinar. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to say, like, your team will go through this. So high-level agenda of the 3 courses. We have making the pod structure work. We have the role of inside sales, and there's the role of outside sales. These are the 3 parts we're going to go into. So getting into that, we're going to talk about easy as ABC 1, 2, 3. We're going to talk about what your competition is doing, the results coast to coast. We're going to talk about the right tools for the job, the big picture, the challenge of outside sales and how we fix it, the opportunity of inside sales and how we make it work, the customer journey map, and we're also going to go over what's next in classes 2 and 3. So one big problem that we saw in the industry was the salespeople were not spending all their time actually selling. There was a lot of other stuff that they were doing, like managing jobs, commercial estimating. They would spend time in driving, right? They'd be doing sit downs with customers before and after the job. They weren't getting a lot of their time to actually be selling. And I thought, well, what makes a great outside sales rep? Like, what makes them great at their job? So one of the traits that make a great salesperson is that you emotionally invest into your prospects. You go there and you give them your best pitch, your best proposal, your best presentation, and you get rejection more often than you get success. Why would you continue to do that? Well, you have this innate ability to forget, right? To just water off the duck's back, forget of failure, right? Forget that rejection. Now, the inverse of that problem is that you're also terrible at putting notes in the CRM and you're terrible at staying organized. And I don't mean this about you specifically watching this. I mean, as a general rule, salespeople are not great at pipeline management and CRM and notes because it's all in your head. You connect it emotionally with the prospect. How it's too much notes to put in. Like you don't necessarily keep great documentation about that kind of stuff. And it leads to opportunities to forget important details. And anybody who's been responsible for producing the work of a salesperson has seen firsthand how salespeople forget to mention the porch in the back or the shed that we agreed that we were going to put, we were going to install the leftover bundles on the shed, or that we're going to paint that windowsill at the top, or whatever. These little details that, are just the things that come up in your conversation. We had to solve that problem. And so the best way I found to explain is to play a game. If I was to give you one of 2 doors to go through, and one of those doors is you get a guy in a chair who's going to help you sell, but you're going to cut your commissions in half. So we're going to take the commission rate from 8% to 4%, or from 5% to 2.5%, or from 10% to 5%, whatever your company does. But you're going to get a guy in a chair who's going to help you in your sales. And you're going to cut the commission in half. Now, just for the record, I'm not advocating for this. I'm just saying, if you were to do that, and you're going to cut the commissions in half, and you're going to split the remaining half. So you go from 8 to 4 and split the 4, so you each get 2. So that's one door. Or the second door, keep doing exactly what you're doing today, which is where you do all the sales by yourself. What do you think most salespeople choose? This is a little test that I like to go through to make my point, which is the ABC 1, 2, 3 challenge. The first thing I want you to do is to time yourself counting from 1 to 10 as fast as you can out loud. And the reason it's out loud is because your mouth can only move so fast, right? You're limited by the speed in which you can say things because you got to enunciate each number. Like you can't be like, what 10? It's got to be saying each number. And you're going to go as fast as you can in 3, 2, 1, go. Now, most people, it's about 2 seconds. Right? 2.1 seconds. I've done this test a zillion times, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's something like that. If you've done this, you've qualified to do the next one. You just got to know your ABCs, but I want you to go from A to J as fast as you can. And if English is a second language, do it in your native language. Do it in whatever that you're used to speaking, because it's the same result. You're saying each letter out loud in 3, 2, 1, go. Now, most people do the letters a little quicker because when they realize this is a time thing, and sales guys are usually a pretty competitive bunch, they're going to do it about 1.8 seconds. So now I just want you to do the same thing you just did. The only rule is you can't quit because you're doing the same thing, but together. So you're going to go A1, B2. And we're going to switch the screens, and you're going to go 3, 2, 1, go. All right, if it took you this long, it usually means you made a lot of mistakes, because the fastest guys ever did it in 14 seconds and they made mistakes. I bet you it's safe to say that whoever did it went A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, and then poof, their brain vacated the building. You can put a 1 in the chat if that was your experience, where whoever was doing it in your room, they went A1, B2, C3, D4, E5, and then stopped being able to think. And then they had to go F6, 7, G7, H8, I9, J10. Like, that's probably how the room went. Because I've done this live hundreds of times. And there's a reason for this, and there's a reason why there's a sales lesson at the end of it, because it highlights the problem in sales, which is that the letters are the numbers are like the inside jobs, the things that can only be done from inside the office, right? They are things where it's like you have a microphone, you have a headset, you have a keyboard, you have fast internet, you maybe have 2 screens. Boys can do it, girls can do it, people in wheelchairs can do it. Doesn't matter, right? But then there are jobs that are invariably outside jobs. These are jobs that you have to do outside. You have to get on a roof and measure the pipe boots, to those kinds of things. So those are like the letters. And this experience that you've had as a salesperson, and again, I can't see any of you, but you guys can discuss amongst yourselves if this is real life, all right? So you're up on a roof, you're on step 14 of a 30-point inspection, or whatever your company says your inspection, is, and you're going through, you get a phone call, right? So you're up on the roof and you get this phone call and you recognize the phone number. And you feel like you got to answer it. You feel like you know that this is somebody that you've done business with, or you got an estimate out to. So you pick up the phone, it's Gertrude. And Gertrude's a roof you quoted last week. And Gertrude tells you that, "Oh, Adam, I'm really excited to hear from you. I wanted to talk to you about my roof." I don't know why I'm doing the funny voice today. It's always harder when I can't see the people in the room. But Gertrude wants to know if you can answer a few questions, because she's thinking she's about to make a decision on her roof. And you, of course, now feel this bird in the hand versus bird in the bush problem. You're on a roof, you're with a customer, you're at the time clock is ticking, and your customer is going to get annoyed if you take too long. But Gertrude's right there, and she's ready to buy a roof, and you already quoted a roof, and she didn't make a decision when you were there, and now you really, really want to get the deal. And so you have this little dilemma you have to deal with, right? And so you decide to keep going with Gertrude, and she says, well, she wants to change the color. You were originally quoting her brown, she wants gray. So now you got to quickly scramble, get into your CRM, change the color. And then you're like, okay, is that good? She's like, well, actually, also, I have this rose bush in the back of my house, and that rose bush was given to me by my grandmother. And that grandmother got the rose bush from Elvis. And if you kill that rose bush, it'll be like killing my grandmother. You got to protect this rose bush. This is a true story from a company called My Contracting Pro in Memphis, Tennessee, where Graceland is, where Elvis grew up. And you're like, okay. And so you jump into CompanyCam, you're trying to hope you took the pictures of the rose bush, and you build a box around it or something like that. And so you're trying to put something in CompanyCam to say to protect it. You go, okay, is that everything you need, Gertrude? And she goes, no. This other guy was at $17,174, and you're at $17,500. Is there any way you could do this for $17,000? And you jump back in, and you're like scrolling in SumoQuote or whatever your quoting tool, and you're trying to adjust the margin slider. You're trying to see if you can do that deal. And you think, I think I could. Would you sign if I did? Yep. Okay. So she agrees to sign. You send her off the signature. Now you're like, oh, you're back on this roof in real life. And all of a sudden now, where were you in the inspection? What step were you on? And this is something that happens to people when they're trying to manage their pipeline out in the field. Most of the salespeople in the room probably wouldn't have done all that stuff with Gertrude on the phone. They probably would have said the famous last words of every salesperson ever, which is, I'll get that to you as soon as I get back in the office. I'm just on a roof right now, Gertrude, but I'll get back to you. And then you forget, right? I was a salesperson for a roofing company too. I owned it, and I did the same thing. You'd be ordering material, and you're doing it all on your own at first, right? And you're trying to do all the things, and it gets you into trouble. So what's the sales lesson? Like all these cute little math tricks and stuff. What's the sales lesson in all of this? Is that these are problems that existed in the roofing industry. We just left it be. And so this new inside-outside sales model, I call the new Hotness. And the old way where salespeople do everything is the old and busted model, because it is. It dates back to a time when there was no Google Maps, there was no Eagle View, there was no Street View. Like you couldn't look at the house from Street View and get an idea as to what this house looked like. You had to draw it on graph paper. Like you had to draw the roof out and draw this 17 feet of rake and this 32 feet of drip and the cap's 32 feet as well. And there's this pie on the front and that triangle is this much and this triangle is this much and 40 feet of valley. And you'd have to draw it out and then calculate the squares manually. And then people started making spreadsheets. It evolved from there into spreadsheets, but then you still couldn't see the Google Street View. You couldn't order an Eagle View. You had to trust that when your sales guy went out to a house and told somebody it was $15,000, you had to hope that they were right because you couldn't look at it from the ground or from the satellite and make some determination. You didn't even have Google Maps to get there. So then if this house was in the middle of nowhere with like bad directions and you had to go past the big red tree and go past the red farm door and then turn right at the rabbit, or some stupid directions like that, trying to teach multiple people how to get to that house, it was a nuisance. Everything was on a paper folder that went on a folder holder on the wall and went across the wall in the production office. It became more and more expensive to run a company the bigger it grew. And when I was working for these companies in the States that were bigger companies, they were trying to find a way to make the company run more affordably the bigger and bigger it grew. So we had to recognize that we were doing things the way we'd always done them because that's the way we always did them. And so it was an old and busted model and we needed a new way. So after we kind of figured this out, we kind of did some math to try and figure out how would we explain this to people when we come into a roofing company. And so we said, well, if you had 60 seconds to close as many deals and you're doing it the old way, right, where you're doing everything and you're having the context switching, that's why you fail at E5 and struggle to think, is because at E5, your brain is switching between number context and letter context. This is the plight of a salesperson, right? Is these little things happen throughout the salesperson's day that switch them off of their context. And there's this book called The One Thing, written by Gary Halpert, and he talks about how it takes you like a third of the time that it takes you to do a task to re-switch back to the context, which the math works out when you do the ABC 1, 2, 3 thing, because those two things take you 4 seconds when they're separate, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The minute you have to combine them, it takes 14 seconds. It takes more than 3 times as long because your context switching. So when you do this, if you have 60 seconds to get as many deals, just like you have a month to get as many deals, a full cycle salesperson gets 14 seconds per deal, right? To go A1, B2 all the way. You end up with 4 deals. So here, with 2 salespeople, you end up with 8 deals in a month. So then we have to think, well, how much is a roof? Because in this example, if you're just doing 1 to 10 and A to J, 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds, they're going to get 30 deals. So if I ask you how much a roof is, most people say 16,000. Because here, if you have 8 deals times 16,000 each, that's $128,000 in sales. If you're doing 10% commission for easy math, that's a $12,800 split between both reps, right? Because they each sold the exact same number of deals. Now, in the new Hotness model, you have 30 deals times 16,000 each, which is $480,000 in sales. Now, again, I'm not advocating for this, but if they cut the commissions in half and they split them, well, it would be 5% commission for the inside and the outside. That would be splitting $24,000 in commissions. So again, I'm not advocating for it, but this is math that we've proven. That when this system is adopted and people believe in it and they see the vision of it and they work within it and they choose to work as a team, like how the Navy SEALs work as a team, not because the boss said you're a team, but because you treat yourselves like sales team 6 out there to crush as many bad guys that don't want to buy roofs as possible. When you treat it like that level of a team, this happens. And everybody makes more money and the company can shave off a point or two, not because the owner wants to buy a new boat, but because the owner wants to buy more leads, because he sees the writing on the wall that the game is getting more difficult. There's people who are willing to invest more money to get a customer, and they have to find a way to fund customer acquisition and brand building. And the other piece of this is that it just makes sense because you get that teammate. If you remember this show, Spider-Man, there's a scene where Ned, right, his friend finds out that he's Spider-Man. He's like, hey, can I be your guy in the chair? And Spider-Man's like, what do you mean guy in the chair? It's like, well, you're the hero, but like, you know, that person's like on the computer and telling you like where the bad guys are going on the tracking device that's on the map. Like, can I be your guy in the chair? And he's like, yeah, sure. And the reason it has this cute scene where he gets to be that guy in a chair, but we realize that every hero has one. Batman had Lucius Fox, and before that he had Alfred. Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible, he had Luther Stuckle. And as the whole world got older and Tom Cruise stayed the same age, he also got Benji. He had two. And then even Tony Stark has Jarvis, right? So if we could find a way to make it easier to sell more and make more money as a result, and all it took was maybe redirecting some capital towards getting them what they really want, which is house deals, maybe that would work. So this point is where sometimes salespeople are, okay, I get it. Yeah, it's better. Like all these cool math games, does it actually work? Well, yes, let's talk about the competition. Let's go coast to coast, okay? So the first small company we did this for, okay, it was a company called Mellow Roofing up in Syracuse, New York. Okay, retail company. It was the first company we did that wasn't like a $15 million company. And they started with one inside-outside sales pod. They didn't even have a second outside sales. And the first inside sales, she was a girl, and she'd never sold a roof before. She's still there to this day, actually. And in their first year of doing this, they went from 2 million to 5.6 million in sales. They had one pod, and one of the outside sales had no experience, and they're 100% retail. Okay, so now let's go. Okay, that works for retail, Adam. What about insurance? Well, let's go down south. So in San Antonio, this company had 16 million in sales in their previous 12 months. They were less than 2 years old, and they had 16 million in sales over the previous 12 months. Not dumb people. All right. And they were professionally trained. They right out of the gate went and got, who's the best? Rodney Webb's the best? Okay, we'll get Rodney Webb. They hired Rodney Webb. They had him doing their sales training. Then I came in and we actually changed away from Rodney Webb to do this inside outside thing because they had the Rodney Webb problems. Right? I'm not saying Rodney Webb's bad. Okay. I don't want him suing me. I'm just saying there's goods and bads to anything. And the bads outweighed the goods in their eyes. And they looked at doing something different. So if you're Rodney Webb and you're listening, this is what I'm saying. But when they did this, they did make the sales reps go down 2% in commission. And because of that, we were there for 5 weeks. 1 week after I left, 15 salespeople started quitting over the course of about a month. So they hired back 8 new ones. So think about what it's like. You're a business owner, new company, new brand, just invested a ton of money. You start this company up, you get to 16 million. You have these guys who helped you get there. You bring some dude from Canada in. He comes in, changes your CRM, changes your comp plan, changes your to this inside outside thing that seems relatively new and untested. And a week after the guy leaves, the guy that's going to be there that trained your whole team, now all the people they trained are leaving. 1 leaves, then 3 leave, then 2 chase the 3, then 1 guy quits and goes work for another company, and 2 guys leave and go work for a guy who's mouthy in the industry, a guy named David who talks a lot and he's talking shit about you. All this happens up to the 15 people. You're down to 2 sales reps. What kind of entrepreneur do you have to be to hold your ground? And then 60 days later, after they hired back those 8, their sales tripled, the run rate tripled. So with that blip, by the end of the year, that following 12 months, even with the blip and the month of training, they ended up at 32 million. So this is where you guys get to play a game. For the mathematicians in the room, if you had 16 million in sales that you got from 17 people, but you went down 2% in commission, so you also lost all your sales reps. You went down to 2. You hired back 8 for a total of 10. 10 sales reps sell 32 million, but they're paid 2% less. Did the salespeople who stayed and got hired make more money than the guys last year or less? More, a lot more. And many tried to come back. So, okay, this works north, this works south. What about the middle? Maybe we doubt the middle. So this is an old company, right? So these were newer companies. This is an old company, established 2001. 70% of his sales came from 2 reps that held the company hostage. You know the type. They go out, take 4 pictures in CompanyCam, sign a contingency agreement, walk in like the Wolf of Wall Street, and they think they're a hero. They drop their paperwork on other people's desks and say, hey, can you like put this and make this like job Nimbus so the boss doesn't yell at me? I don't do that stuff. I'm Captain Closer. Right? Those guys. Well, we rolled out this system and all of a sudden new reps started outselling the top reps. Both quit. One went and started his own company, failed right away within like 60 days. And actually just a little while ago, another one of their new sales reps was interviewed on Adam Benjamin's YouTube channel because he had like a record month. He was at 738,000 in sales for the month. And I think he ended a 30-day period at 900. Well, they since got bought by the Royal Roofing and they're now like a little mini private equity company buying up our clients. They're going on buying up our customers. So this works in Kansas and Missouri as well. Let's go all the way out to California, which is like a completely different country. And same thing. This company started on HubSpot free. Then they switched to MarketShark because the CRM was the problem. Then they went to Job Nimbus because the CRM was a problem. Then they went shopping for a CRM again because the CRM was a problem. They found us at Roofing Process Conference. We switched and the same results. They increased sales with less sales reps and more predictability. And this is a retail market with an in-house labor force. So this works north, south, east, west, boys, girls, old, new, insurance, retail, or both, in-house or out or subcontracted labor. So why the change in the CRM? Why do we usually suggest this? And this is the part what feels salesy. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just saying that a lot of people, when they try and get a CRM built, or they try and shop for a CRM, they're looking for an all-in-one tool. And sometimes an all-in-one tool looks like this, where it makes a half-decent broom, I suppose. You can maybe use it as a chainsaw, but it's probably going to make a pretty bad hammer. Right. And so when we built CRMs, we used to build on all of them. Like we used to build Acculinks and Job Nimbus and Contractors Cloud and RoofHawk and these things that don't even exist today, you know, Jobber and Salesforce and Zoho. Like we did them all, but we had to pick one. And so we just aligned ourselves with the industry. Right. And these are all the people that actually matter when it comes to rating CRMs. It's not the Facebook comment section. Like these people are actual experts, and HubSpot ranges in number 1 and number 2 every time. So we picked that one because it was the easiest to do everything the customer wanted. And so you get a tech stack. It's not like you get an all-in-one tool. Some people use some tools and other people use different tools, but HubSpot's always the single source of truth of everything that happened with a deal. So everything is always accessible from within HubSpot. Now, I don't want to sell anything, so we're going to talk about the big picture. Why does this work? So if you've got kids, you've probably watched this movie. In this movie, there's a good scene, right? Where Peter Parker, a guy doing the sit-ups here, his friend Ned, finds out that his friend Peter is Spider-Man. And he says, hey, can I be your guy in the chair? And Peter Parker's like, what? He's like, you know, your guy in the chair, like when you're chasing the bad guy and you got a tracker on him and you got to like know whether turn left or turn right. You know, I'm like the guy in the computer that like helps you out. And he's like, I guess, yeah, sure. And there's this like cute scene where, of course, they end up needing that. And he's on some computer and he's like, guy in a chair. And he's so excited, right, to be the guy in the chair. But the interesting thing is, if you think about it, all heroes have a guy or girl or someone in a chair. Because if you look at Batman, he had Lucius Fox. And before that, he had Alfred. If you look at Mission Impossible, right, Tom Cruise, he had Luther Stuckle. And as the world got older and Tom Cruise stayed the same age, he still had Luther and he got Benji. And even Tony Stark, right, has a guy in a chair, but it's Jarvis, right? It's $1 billion guy in a chair. The whole idea is that this concept works of having a teammate, right? Having a teammate in this. And this is the power of the pod sales framework. And so when we're talking about this, the ratio is about making it so it's a 1-to-2 ratio. And there's a reason for this because it's all about an allocation of time. So every time an inside sales gets a lead, they incur a 1-hour debt of time to the universe. They got to do lead intake. They got to do setting up the appointment. They got to, order the ego views. They got to do a post inspection call. Then they got to do some follow up. Then they get the signed contract. Then they get the job file playbook cleaned out, and then they're done. Right? That is about an hour worth of work. Sometimes it's a little more because customers need more follow-ups. Sometimes it's a little less because the customer doesn't buy, but it averages out to about an hour debt of time to the universe. Now, every time outside sales gets a lead, they have to drive to the house, get out of the truck, get up on the roof, take the pictures, come down, build the proposal, go inside, do the dog and pony show, present the deal, put kneecaps to kneecaps, try and close the deal, walk out, and then connect with the inside sales. That's about 2 hours of work. So if the inside sales takes on 4 leads, they've got 4 hours of work. If the outside sales takes 4 leads, they've got 8 hours of work. So if you take 4 more leads and you give 4 leads out, well, now you've got 8 hours of work over here, 8 hours of work here, and 8 hours of work here. It's balanced. And you can scale this to infinity. And then you just have to monitor for simple KPIs, which is 8 leads per day, split between 2 reps, 25% close rate minimum. And this is an aggregate, right? Because you're going to have a new sales rep that sucks and is still learning, and you have some seasoned person who's killing it. But the pod in the macro, zoomed out, has to be doing minimum 25% close rate, which is 40 deals per month and 20 deals per outside sales. Again, it's not always perfectly split because they're not always going to sell the same, but this is how you measure pods when you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, and you can just keep on growing them. Now, a lot of times people say, well, where am I going to get those 8 leads per day? This might be why I do advocate for a slight alteration in commission. 1, to pay for the inside sales, and 2, to get more leads. Because I can't control how many doors a guy will knock. I can't control how good he is at knocking. I can, however, control how many impressions I get on Facebook. So I like to be able to insulate myself against that or have a canvassing team that I can control. So let's look at the challenges. Why might people not want to do this? If you're an outside salesperson in the room, you might be feeling these things. You'll say, well, I don't want to give up my relationship with the customer. Pretty fair thing. You're like, well, what? Now these other people can talk to my customers. What if they blow my deal? Fair concern. Or you'll say, I wasn't doing that follow-up anyways. I literally had a person say that to me. I was saying there with his boss. He's like, I don't know who's going to buy right away. I'm not going to waste my time doing follow-up. People with this last name never buy. People in that neighborhood never buy. And me and the boss are looking at him like, this guy has no idea what it's like to run a business, because it's like, we know you're not following up the leads because we pay for them, because this company did do a lot of marketing. You're like, we get that you're not following up with the leads. We know that. We're trying to solve that problem. And sometimes people think, well, this is probably going to work, but it's one step backwards to take 2 steps forwards. And I don't really like taking 1 step backwards. Or it's just, this is new and it's change and it's scary and we don't like it, right? For whatever reason. Well, we have ways of fixing it. So we have edification from your inside sales, makes it better. Like, it makes your relationship better, because that way, if Charlie is sending out Moses to go sell something, for example, when Charlie says, oh, you're looking for a roof repair? You know what? I'm going to actually get you Moses. He was one who's available for that 2 o'clock appointment on the north end where you live. He's actually our repair specialist. He's going to take great care of you. And then tomorrow it's like, oh, you're looking for a metal roof? Actually, you're getting Moses. Moses is fantastic. He's a metal roofing specialist. The whole idea is this is just more team. That's all it is. If you're humble enough to think about it as a salesperson, you have the marketing team doing marketing. You have a receptionist taking phone calls. Then you're getting leads. Then you're selling them. Sales managers are doing their job. Production managers are doing their job. The crews are doing their job, and the accountants doing their job. You're already on a team. This is just another teammate. And if I'm driving my car around at night and I hit a drunk person that wanders out in the middle of the road, but that drunk person has a rich uncle and says they're going to sue me, and I say, hey, I'm going to go talk to a lawyer because I don't think I was at fault. Well, if you go walk into one legal office and they say, no problem, Darius, we can take care of you. I'm a lawyer. I specialize in litigation. You're like, okay. And you go to another law office and say, yeah, actually, we have a whole team. So you get a person who specializes in litigation, another person who specializes in injury law. We got another person who's a paralegal. They're going to take care of all your appointments. Make sure you never miss a court date. Same price. Who are you going to pick? You're going to pick the team. Who's the homeowner going to pick? The one where they get a team to serve them. So this edification and stuff like that makes it better. And as far as the follow-up goes, there's not a salesperson in the room. But if I said, if you could clone yourself and basically do follow-up for 4 hours a day with absolute intention, and you knew everything that your clone knew when you were doing your follow-up, would you sell more? Yes or yes? Every salesperson say yes. And so now you will do that follow-up because you are going to clone yourself. It takes time. And that's why the inside sales has to be trained. You have to work with them as an outside sales to model, mimic, and master your language. Then, if you can't afford to take 1 step backwards, what you're doing wasn't that good ever, so you might as well not stay doing it, because it'll only get worse, because you got to change to change. The world is changing around us, and RBP is here to support you. So at RBP, we have webinars that are designed like this one to teach you this whole series. We have tons of webinars on teaching the inside-outside sales framework and everything else that we've learned through the years of traveling the country and working with over $1 billion worth of roofing revenue at this point. And these are live every day. So I encourage you, those of you who maybe this is your first time, to come back, because we teach more. And then we even chop these up and put them on YouTube. I'm not trying to be Jake Paul. You don't have to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, but it is there for you to watch. And we have Q&A. Even if you're a platform customer, you get more. Like, you just get more access to this, and you get more people at RBP working with you. But you can come to our Winning Wednesday, which is an example of what our Q&A is like, and you can ask questions and be a part of it. So don't let yourself get afraid to change. Now, with that being said, we're going to talk about the opportunity of inside sales. And wisdom begins at the definition of terms. So if we want to be wise, we want to know what is inside sales, because I'll tell you what it isn't. It isn't a task chick. It isn't a CRM babysitter. It's not a sales assistant. I've seen this time and time again. Oh, we tried inside sales. It didn't work. It's like, were they from the Philippines or South America? Philippines. That's why. There's a reason why. You know, they're a sales assistant, so they work with a bunch of people. Great, you did it wrong. Like, so many people will come to me and say, Adam, I watched your stuff and I listened. I did the inside sales. It didn't work. I'm like, okay, did you do this? Like, did you give them 1-to-2 ratio? Great. Did you do post-inspection call? Okay, did the inside sales learn how to model, mimic, and master? Did you capture the objection on every deal? Did you guys make sure you guys did a lead intake process where you built a relationship with the inside sales? Okay. It's like, oh, you did 2 out of the 5 things. Okay, so what didn't work? This or you? You didn't work. So you got to do it right. So we have to define inside sales and understand what it is. And the definition of an inside salesperson, that you have to measure this. Only you can look yourself in the mirror and know if that's how you are training it. But it is a competent, trained teammate who's incentivized to help outside salespeople make more money by delivering a more consistent customer experience. That's the definition of inside sales. If your inside sales do not function in that capacity, then it will not work. And visually, it's taking them from the old way where they only get this much time with customers to the new way where they get lots more. That's the outside sales. And you have to have systems to back up the processes, like playbooks that make it so you follow the process every time, something to make it so you can optimize travel and make sure that your outside sales can be on time for 4 appointments a day, and making it so you can easily adjust quotes and know what the price should be. Like inside sales should know how to price a roof, and there should be systems to support that. When we do it right, we just have to follow this math for success, which can be visually shown as this: who does what when. And we'll talk about insurance. For retail, it's just a little easier, but it follows this process. You do lead intake. You basically take the customer, you do the lead intake process. We have a playbook that we do. You set the appointment. You set up the deal for success. So outside sales has everything they need to close the deal when they get there. And then you do the appointment confirmation. And then outside sales goes on the way and they do their damage inspection and they sign a contingency, or whatever you're calling a contingency these days. Everybody's starting to come up with new names for it, but it's basically some mental commitment in the eyes of the customer where they go, I'm out of the market, while they're waiting for you to do the stuff with the claim. At which point you do a post-inspection call, which is the most important step in this whole process. It's the first thing that falls. If I have to go back 2 years later to a company where they say inside sales is falling apart, this is what I go look at. This is what I fix. It took me a couple of years to figure that out. Now I know that this is the thing to watch for, so that my customers don't have to wait 6 months to figure out that their inside sales department is falling apart. Now I can find it in 3 days. Now they're going to follow up with a claim, schedule the adjuster meeting, and provide ongoing value, education, and support to the customer. And then the outside sales does the adjuster meeting, and then inside sales collects that claims scope paperwork. They're usually working with a claims or supplementing person. They work towards that final insurance agreement, follow up, until they sign that final insurance agreement and they complete their job file to hand off to production. So they have an approved payable commission deal, at which point production does their job. If production's in the room today, just a reminder that bubble is not supposed to represent the amount of work you do. It's just what fits on the screen, because we have to have the thing at the end, which is a Google review request. So all of this is how we make this clean, smooth handoff. So it's like working with a clone and a teammate at the same time. How to actually run inside sales and what inside sales does. Now, this is part of a 3-class thing. This is actually one of the main courses that exists inside our platform program. And this isn't me trying to sell it to you. I'm just trying to say that this is my way as a CEO. This is the one thing that I do when every platform customer gets onboarded. I teach this course myself because my reputation is on the line. And I need to make sure that this is effective. We're giving it away for free to anybody in the room today that's not a customer, because I don't ever want to be the gatekeeper of information. And I want to make sure that people can learn if they don't have the budget to hire us. So that's it. But this is a very impactful course. And this is one I personally teach to every single customer at RBP. Now, today's agenda is talking about the role of inside sales. We're going to overview the role, the responsibilities, and leading indicators. We're going to get a basic understanding of the tools. Now, again, when you use this, when you come with us, we train you on all these tools, but we're going to do a generic overview. And then we're going to talk about effective communication skills. We're going to talk about how you manage your sales pipeline as an inside sales. And we have some people who are inside salespeople in the room. So this will be a good refresher to get back to the basics, because honestly, that's where it always falls apart. So getting into the overview, I like to break it down as the key responsibilities and skill sets. So the key responsibilities of inside sales is new client intake and appointment setting, post-presentation follow-up. And remember that, because you're going to hear me say it a bunch of times. We as business owners need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. This is where inside sales starts to die, is when this stops being done. Pipeline management and reporting on sales, aligning to the sales and service goals of the company, and being a force multiplier for the outside sales. So there's skills that are required to be able to do this. One of them is using the tools, HubSpot, SumoQuote, and Arrive. Could you do this with other tools? Maybe. I've just found that the best way for us to create predictable success is to use the tools that we know. And there's going to be phone tools and email tools, knowing how to use those things. You have to have effective communication skills and active listening abilities. You're not getting that face-to-face, right? As an inside sales. At best, you might get a Zoom call. So you're usually dealing through calls and texts and emails. So you have to be able to actively listen to people to get their needs. And then you have to have sales skills. This is something that a lot of people lose when they try to do inside sales. I've done 2 presentations to prospective customers of RBP today. They tried to do inside sales before, but they didn't execute it the way that we teach it. And they didn't treat the inside sales like salespeople. They treated them like something different, like we talked about yesterday, a task check, a CRM babysitter, or a sales assistant. No, they have to be salespeople. They have to know how to position value and overturn objections. Then they got to be able to report on the success of those activities. Pay attention to detail, because when you write something, it's different than the sales guy promising to paint the fence, you know what I mean, when he's at the house. When you're in person, sometimes the things you say can be forgotten, but when it's an email, it's there forever. And you have to be a team player because you're on the sales team. So there's key activities that you do as an inside sales that make you successful. The first one is lead intake. It's a 5-step process. You answer the phone or you call the lead that came in within 5 minutes. Then you create the deal using the automation in HubSpot, and you perform a lead intake using the built-in playbook. So to know what that is, a playbook is just a process adherence tool. It's designed to create compliance around a process. So I'll just quickly show you what a playbook is. And it's a list of questions that you follow. So you can see here, this person filled out the playbook on lead intake. So we can see all the questions that were asked during the lead intake process, right? We gather this information. The goal of this playbook is not to quickly get off the phone. This is something that a lot of people get wrong when they try and do lead intake. When I was on site, day 4, it was like predictable as clockwork. They would say, oh, this lead intake takes too long. And I want to show you what customers go through as a reminder, is that when they go and they say, okay, I want a roofer in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Okay, so like a roofer's near me or something like that. And they're going to get a list and they're going to go, okay, maybe they click on some ads, or maybe they come down here and they look at the reviews and they go, okay, so there's a bunch of roofers here. And they go, which one do I want to hire? They look for some Google reviews and they go, okay, 62 and a 4.9. That seems good. Okay, so I'll click that. I read the reviews. I go and say, okay, well, what did they do when they messed up? Well, he responded. That's good. Oh, but he didn't respond to that one. Interesting. Well, I don't know, I'll give him a shot. So then they go to the website. They look around. They go, okay, this is a roofing website, I guess. Yeah. Zero pressure sales. I like that. Okay. Okay, they do lots of different things. Okay, it looks like a roofer. All right, I'm going to fill out the thing. So they fill out the thing. And then they hit back. And they go, look. They go, oh, whoa, I didn't catch that one. These guys got lots of reviews. Let's read it. Okay. Let's go reviews. They read them. Go below. What happens when they mess up? Okay. They're responding. That's good. Okay. Well, I'm going to give them a shot. So I go to the website. I go, holy smokes, this is a much nicer website. Instant roof quote. Hey, I'll fill that out. Oh, it looks hard. I don't want to do that. I'll just get in touch. Okay, that makes sense. Fill out the thing, hit submit, they hit back again. If you're TJs, you want to be calling them before they get to that third website, ideally before they get to the second website. The nice thing about it is that when a homeowner calls a roofing company or sends in a lead to a roofing company, they didn't write call a receptionist on their to-do list. They wrote call a roofer. Every roofer in the room, this is where I need you to engage. If you have this experience, you remember the first time you as an owner, you paid for marketing, maybe you didn't have any salespeople yet, and you paid for ads, and you got a lead, and it was like 8 o'clock, and you thought, it's 8 o'clock, it's not that late. I'm gonna give them a call. And you called them, and Gertrude picks up the phone. She says, I got a leak in my garage. And you're like, okay, Gertrude, well, my name's Johnny. I'm here to help you. Whereabouts in your garage is it leaking? Well, it's like in the middle. And you're like, is it about where the wall above the house is? Right? Like on the front face of the house? Yeah, it's like right beneath my bedroom. The window's right there. You're like, yeah, it could be a leaking in the flashing. It could be going in behind the flashing there. And that could be what's causing the leak. So what we need to do is we need to inspect it. And she goes, yeah, sure. Right? Now, she gets a call back tomorrow from the other guy or from the receptionist, goes, yep, name, phone number, email, address, got that all confirmed, got an appointment. Somebody's going to come and see you tomorrow morning. Well, when they spoke to you and you showed up at the house, they were like, they remembered you, sale went great, your close rate was like 70% on this stuff. And the minute you hired salespeople and you had a receptionist taking the phone, close rate went down to 25%. And that's normal. And it's because we started just answering the phone and not taking the customer out of the market. We want the customer to feel like they crossed call a roofer off their to-do list as a byproduct of our call, because they have 50 other problems to solve today too. How do I get the kids picked up from school? My wife needs me to grab her an anniversary gift. Oh my gosh, I completely forgot. We still got to get those darn taxes paid. She wants to go on a vacation. Where should we go? They have 50 other problems to solve today too. So then we want to set the appointment in Arrivee. The goal here is to optimize for minimal travel time and maximum sales time. And then we're going to order the roof measurements and get them into our SumoQuote software. The idea is we want to set up outside sales to be ready to go sell the roof. Now, there's required skill sets for this activity. One, you have to be able to type quickly. When you're filling out that lead intake playbook, you want to be able to be typing it into the system. So you got to be able to type quickly. You got to be able to create a deal in HubSpot. You got to understand your phone system. You got to understand the layout of your service area, and you have to understand your field service tools in SumoQuote. The second activity is your post-inspection call. And there's 5 steps to that, which is where you connect with the outside sales immediately after they leave the house. And I mean immediately. Like, they go to their truck, they tie their ladder down so it doesn't hit a school bus. Then they call their inside sales. Before they put their truck in drive, they should be phoning their inside sales. Right? So you want to make sure you're there to connect with them. So then you're going to collect and document the relevant deal details to create a successful sale. So you're going to ask them, okay, you gave them a couple options. Which one do you think they're going to go with? How much money can we make? All right, so you didn't sell it. When do you think they're going to make a decision? Oh, they have 2 estimates coming. When's the next one coming? The last one? Okay, so Friday at 3 o'clock, they should be ready to go. All right, well, what was their objection today? Like, why wouldn't they just buy it from you now? They said they had to think about it. Well, what do they got to think about? Or you didn't ask. Okay, so what am I supposed to do next? Well, they like the Owens Corning shingle, but they're also considering GAF. Okay, well, I'll send them some more stuff about the Owens Corning. Well, when should I do that? Probably on Friday, I guess, right? Okay, great. All right, anything else I need to know? What were their hot buttons? Awesome. Okay, well, your next appointment's in 25 minutes. Looks like you have lots of time. Let me know if you need anything. Bye. That's a proper post-inspection follow-up call. Then they call the customer and they say, hey, thanks so much for meeting with Charlie. How was the inspection? Oh, Charlie was good. Okay. Did he answer all your questions? Absolutely no. He was very thorough. Oh, that's interesting. I noticed that you didn't choose to go with us. Is there any more information you need to make a decision? Well, yeah, we're just kind of curious about this Owens Corning versus GAF shingles. Like, with the Owens Corning shingle, has that Sure-Nail strip, but the GAF shingle has an unlimited wind warranty. And then you have your objection overcome for that. And then maybe you get the sale. Sometimes the inside sales says the same thing the outside sales said, and the customer magically buys because it's confirmation bias. If they don't get a sale there, then they proceed with a follow-up 24 to 48 hours later. And then they proceed with sequences, automated follow-up, right? That is just designed to get the customer to respond, and then the human takes over. Finally, when they get the sale, they're going to complete that with a signature on the proposal and complete the job file playbook, which is just another one of those playbooks. That's all the questions the production manager wishes that you would tell him before you sell a deal so that he doesn't walk into a landmine. And then that way, production owns the deal once it moves over to production. So there's required skill sets. You want to be situationally aware of the time and location of the outside sales. If you're noticing that they're long at their appointment, maybe they fell and hurt themselves. Maybe they're taking a long time to present. You can't interrupt them. But if you look at the travel time between the next one, you want to be able to call the customer. Also, if you click the button that says they're ready to present, you know that they're going to go in and talk for about 40 minutes. Then they're going to come out and they're going to be expecting to do what? Call you before they leave the driveway. So you want to make sure you're there to answer that phone, because salespeople are like horses. They spook easy. The one time that inside sales isn't there to pick up the phone, sales guys go, oh, they're never there. So I just don't call them ever. So you got to make sure that you're there. Then you're going to have to negotiate, present value, and parrot the outside sales word tracks. That's what I mean by the model, mimic, and master. Then you have to be able to type quickly once again, because you're going to be taking notes from the outside sales. So you got to know how to use Arrivee and SumoQuote to modify the quotes. So you can modify it to get the deal. You have to understand the HubSpot follow-up tools and sequences. So I'm going to show you what that is now. A sequence is just as it sounds. It's a sequence of follow-up activity. So if I go to here, type sequences. So a retail follow-up sequence might look like this. This is the one that we put in your system. So it's an email, and then a manual email where you open the scope and suggest something different. It's a phone call. It's another email. It's another email. It's another phone call. It's a task to send an email. And then it's like, hey, this completed without a response. These things generate money. In fact, we've used sequences to rehash leads from last spring. So here's an example of one. It's just raining cats and dogs one. And basically, it's like, hey, you said you're waiting till spring. Well, now it's spring. April showers bring May flowers. It's raining cats and dogs. Maybe it's time to book in to get this done. That sequence generated $161,000 in revenue just from reaching out to old people that said they're waiting until spring. So whether you use it for follow-up immediately after the inspection, or you can use it for rehash, sequences are powerful. And then you have to know how to complete a job file playbook. So who does what when, right? I use insurance because it's more complex. Retail's easier because you just don't need this dot or this block. But you do lead intake, you do the appointment setting, you set up the deal for success, and you confirm the appointment. Outside sales pushes a button saying they're on the way to let the customer know. They do their damage inspection, they sign a contingency, right? Or whatever you're calling a contingency these days. Then you're going to do a post-inspection call, follow up on the claim, schedule the adjuster meeting, and provide ongoing value support. At which point the outside sales does the adjuster meeting, and then inside sales follows up on the claim paperwork, works towards that final insurance agreement, and follows up like crazy. When I mean follow up like crazy, follow up like this darn Regis person, because I looked at an Office yesterday, and this Regis salesperson is ridiculous. All those reds, with the exception of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of those reds, only the bottom red, the one above Allen, only that one is not Regis. And I'm not angry. I'm just busy. But a normal salesperson would say, he never picks up. Just put it in the sequence. So then you sign a final insurance agreement. You complete your job file playbook. Now you have an approved payable deal. Production does their job. And just as a reminder to the production people, if you're sensitive, know that bubble is not representative of the amount of work you do. It just fits on the screen. And then you do the Google review request. So there's leading indicators of success, right? Lagging indicators is your commission, the money in your bank account, the gross profit, the number of sold deals. Like that's the lagging indicators. That's what happens after you do the right thing. The leading indicators are signs that you're doing the right thing that should result in success. So that's your lead response time under 5 minutes. It's hard to do. I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard to do. But when you do it, it makes a big difference because you get to take the customer out of the market while they're shopping. Then getting an outside sales on time for 4 points per day. On time, meaning setting them up with a schedule that makes sense. Don't have them drive across the West Kelowna, North Kelowna bridge in the middle of the day in the summer or whatever that time is. Then you're going to measure your one call close rate from your outside sales and compare it to the overall close rate of the outside of the pod, right? Of 1 to 2 people, 1 inside, 2 outside. Then you got to get that feedback from the outside sales. Are you getting that feedback? And that's defined as the objection, the close date, the deal amount, the next step, and you have a task on every deal, every time, every day. You always have a next task. You always have something that you're going to do next to try and progress the deal forward. And you have no more than 40 to 60 active deals at any time. I've seen this happen. This is how we forecast revenue. Here's the thing. I'll tell you what my experience is like dealing with roofing business owners. If I give you the power to predict the future, you have to trust it. It's 2 elements to trust. 1, the data has to be right. 2, when you get the data, you change behavior. You actually do something about it. Because I had 2 cases this year where we had the data. Inside sales was closing 57 deals in July. So she had 1 inside to 2 outside. She had 57 deals out of her pod in July. I said, you need another outside sales. She's got like 120 active deals. You need another inside sales. Like, you got to get this done. You either got to mark those deals lost or you need another inside sales. He didn't listen. August, he started to listen, hired an inside sales person, didn't work out, hired another one, right? They hired the second one. She had to learn, because what we noticed is that girl who had 57 sales in her pod, the close rate started to go down. She's still selling lots of deals, but her close rate was starting to go down. The customers were not getting the best experience. They weren't complaining necessarily, but they just weren't buying. Like, the experience was not remarkable enough to buy. So by adding that second inside sales and making sure they got a good one, they didn't just hire somebody with 2 feet and a heartbeat to fill a seat. They hired somebody who met the requirements of an inside sales. Now that girl came in and she was successful. And the revenue went up, the sales went up, and all that. The second example was where we could predict the number of jobs that are coming through. And we're like, look, based on your close rate, you have $700,000 in this pipeline closing in the next 30 days. That's going to be $225,000 worth of work. You're going to be booked out another month. You got to go and get some more crews. Didn't get more crews, booked up the year. Feels good, but you want the data, you have to listen to it. So if we do this, this is how the math works. The math will work. So then we have tools. As inside sales, you really work out of HubSpot and SumoQuote. You also work in Arrive, but it's not your primary tool. You're just scheduling appointments in there. But you live in HubSpot and SumoQuote. Your Arrive inspections come back to HubSpot, so this is kind of where you live still. So you're going to be using playbooks a lot. This is a big important part of what you're using. You're going to be using SumoQuote, which is built into HubSpot. And yes, you're going to be using Arrive so that your travel routes look something like this. All that to say that I can't see your eyes. So I don't necessarily know what you're seeing. And when you're learning how to use software, say from us, or you're teaching your team how to use software, like if you're teaching your team to use these things, showing them isn't always enough. Training is so important to inside sales. This is the point I'm trying to make. And making it so that training is readily available. You can do it another way. You can use Training, you can use a Google Doc, you can use a video library. But you got to make sure the training is easily available. Once we know how to use the tools, it really just comes down to being able to communicate. And when you're an inside salesperson, I want you to remember, always edify the outside sales rep. Talk up the outside sales rep. You picked the perfect outside sales rep for your customer. Oh, you're looking for a repair? Moses is the repair guy. Oh, you're looking for a metal roof? Kevin is our top metal roof guy. You're going to be so good in good hands with him. He'll help you pick the best metal roof for you. And then when we're doing follow-up, it's so easy to turn into an email robot. Call, text, and then email in that order until you know that one of these particular pieces of these methods of communication is obviously better. You call, text, and email in that order. When they don't respond to you and you used to get responses by email, guess what? If you're not getting responses by email, call, text, email in that order. And use video sales as often as you're comfortable. The only reason I'm standing before you today, when I went into roof sales, because I had a business partner that was a roofer and I was trying to sell roofs, I used video. When COVID hit, I flew around the country helping other roofers use video. In fact, there's people in the room who were part of the first 586 people, I'll remember that number till the day I die, that downloaded a freebie that I had. It was a Facebook ad program and these like downloads that you could have. And I sent every single one of those people a personalized video to say hello and just say, hi, I'm Adam. Thanks for downloading my thing. I'd love to learn how I can help your business. And I had 586 conversations as a result of those. And that is why I'm sitting here before you today, is because I use video in my sales process. And so the other thing you want to do is build up a resource list of sales collateral that you can use to close deals with logical buyers. So what that means is, let's say you're a GAF contractor and the homeowner says to the sales guy, hey, I liked your presentation and everything, but I think we want to go with the Owens Corning shingle because it has a strip in the middle that makes it so my shingles don't blow away again. And the GAF guy is going to say, well, I totally understand that, but here's a piece of information that maybe might change your mind. Because if your shingles are flapping in the wind, like in that Kevlar strip is what's saving you, that means the shingles already failed because the sealant strip isn't holding down. GAF has DuraGrip sealant, which seeps into these microgranules right here. And when it does that, it creates a monolithic bond with the shingle below, which creates, from an infrared, you can't even tell the difference between these two shingles. And that's why GAF has an unlimited wind warranty. So you're not going to have to worry about your shingles flapping in the wind. Like, I'm not here to argue about shingles with roofers. You guys, whatever you want, that's just the pitch, right? Like, that's just what you're supposed to say. You got to memorize those word tracks. If the inside sales says it, you get the confirmation bias. But what inside sales has in their favor that outside sales doesn't have is the ability to have the context of someone else saying it. And so here's an example.
Recently, we did something most people in the roofing industry would consider impossible. We installed these Timberline shingles using no nails at all in the field of the roof. These shingles are held in place with nothing but our proprietary GAF DuraGrip adhesive. We did this to demonstrate just how strong GAF DuraGrip adhesive actually is. Now let's see what happens when we blast this roof with hurricane force winds. 153 mile per hour, category 4, nearly category 5 hurricane force winds. And our GAF shingles with DuraGrip sealant are holding on, even without nails.
Not here to debate the shingles and whether that video is good or not. That's just the video you send if you're a GAF contractor and the customer said what they said. But you want to build up a resource list and make it so these things are quick draws. So you can use something like text replacement. HubSpot that has something called Snippets. And so a snippet is just something where you create a snippet and you can say, okay, I'm going to put that in my folder, put it in sales. I'll put in, it's like GF no nails video. And then I'll copy in the link. I'm just going to go http://youtube.com/JF no nails video. That's not the right link. I'll go like JF no nails. Now, what this allows me to do is to go into any contact. If I go to test somebody, test my reens. Now, if I go to email this person, I can type JF. This thing's going to pop up. I can add the video, or I can go into insert, snippet, JF, no nails video. But then I can have that resource list very easily accessible to a customer. So I can say, hey, here's some information you might not know because you didn't believe the sales guy when he said monolithic bond. It sounded like a big word and you just ignored him. So there's opportunity in that, right? Having that resource list. From there, it's all about the pipeline management, which is, again, you're going to hear me say this over and over and over again. How much money is the deal worth? When do we expect to get the money? Why don't we have the money already? What are we going to do to get the money? And when are we going to do it? This is the power of the pods, because that inside sales holds someone accountable, and it's properly designed so it scales so you can manage your pod around KPIs. So we're getting into the platform inside outside sales classes number 3. So this is going to be the role of outside sales. So how to free yourself and enjoy this position and love it. When we're talking about the outside sales, we have the role, the responsibilities, and the leading indicators of success. To do that, we have to understand the tools and their impact, which the main tools for outside sales are going to be CompanyCam, SumoQuote, Arrive. We're going to talk about selling like a doctor. We're going to talk about putting value in excess of price. We're going to talk about closing deals. We'll have some homework. So, key responsibilities of outside sales. You're going to help train and develop your inside sales teammates. So yes, a sales manager is usually going to be responsible for training the whole sales team, but you have a responsibility and in this format to help train and develop your inside sales teammate. And the reason that this is a bit of a shock is because sales is used to be a lone wolf sport. This is the culture shock that's going to happen to your sales teams. If you're rolling this out, it's like, what do you mean I'm a me leader, not a we leader. I don't have to lead we. I just got to lead me. I got to get myself, my deals. That's it. This is a culture shock when all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got to depend on this other person for my success. Yeah, just like the sales manager does, or just like a leader of a company does, or just like you got to depend on the crew to do a good job so that you get a review, so that you don't get a bad reputation, so that more people would buy from you. Like, yeah, you're depending on multiple people for your success. So in rolling out an outside sales team, you create a team. And that means that they're going to have to likely invest in a little personal and professional development so that they can learn how to work in sales as a team sport, because this might be very new and a big culture shock to some of them. Then you're going to have to learn how to treat every deal the same. It's a responsibility to treat every deal the same. Like not to go, oh, those people with those last name, they never buy. Oh, those people in neighborhood like that, they never buy. Assume the sale and document the site conditions. If this lead made it past to you as an outside sales, if it got past your inside sales, if it got past your marketing team, right, and got into your bucket, you want to assume the sale and document the site conditions as if you're going to get the sale. Then you want to empower the customer to make a decision, present value in excess of price. This is actually one I should spend a little more time on. Empowering the customer to make a decision. That means something. If a customer says, I need to think about it, that's your fault. You did not empower them to make a decision because they don't have all the information that it is obvious. You have to present value in excess of price. If I hold up the keys to a Porsche and I say it's worth 50,000, if say I'll sell it for 50,000, 50,000 is a lot of money. But if it's a 911 GT3 RS brand new, that's a $250,000 car. If I hold it up and it's 50,000 for the first person who comes because I need the money, the value is in excess of the price. You are going to beg, borrow, or steal to find that money because you could turn around and sell the car the next day. Like, why are you selling it for 50K? What's wrong with it? You're going to ask a few questions. And as long as you feel confident and empowered to make that decision, you're going to buy the car because you know that if you can wait, like the only reason you're selling me this $50,000 Porsche because you need the money right now. That's the only reason you're selling it. Yeah, if I was selling tomorrow, I'd sell it for 200 grand, but I need the money right now. Okay, well, here's 50. I will find you 50 grand within the next 3 hours and you will find it. You would find it because you could wait a week and sell it for 250. You're going to figure it out. So that's an exaggerated version of presenting value in excess of price. but the stakes are not that high and you're not expected to come up with 50 grand that you did not expect to come up with on no notice. But then we have to ask for the sale and be good at it. I see this all the time when people present the sale and they go, so is that what you're thinking with? Or like, and we're going to talk more about it, but like asking for the sale and being good at it, this is where a lot of sales are gone. You've done everything right, and then you botch it when you ask for the business. And then communicate with your inside sales after every demo. This is where these departments go to die. If you don't communicate with your inside sales immediately after every demo, it will fail. And the communicating is defined as knowing what's going to make this deal happen, like the objection and the hot buttons. So those are the key responsibilities of inside sales. Now, there are required skill sets to be able to perform those. 1, leadership. You have to be able to lead yourself. You have to be able to lead others. You have to be able to hold people accountable. There are 5 levels of leadership. This is something I want to teach you right now, because as an outside sales, you don't have to be a level 5 leader. I'll be honest with you guys. This is like the number one problem. I went through a ton of sales calls yesterday. I met some good leaders yesterday, and I met some really bad leaders yesterday. And it's not that they're bad leaders. It's just they don't know. They're like, oh yeah, I usually just take, like, when I hire guys, I usually just throw them to the wolves and see how they do. And it's like, he says that kind of like funny. And I'm like, and that's why you are negative in cash and can't afford to spend 60 grand to grow your business that's 26 years old and you're at $2.5 million a year and you're negative on cash. Like, that's why. Like, you think it's funny, you're dumb. Like, you should close your shop right now. I could make more money if I just went back to my truck. And it's like, you could. Like, leadership, this industry is starving for. Like, if anybody wants to know what they should do right now, it's study leadership. If you can build things, great. You can build CRMs or build roofs or build like whatever, like, great. You can build stuff, great. That's a good skill, and you can expand really well from that. And then if you can sell, that's another great skill. If you can build and sell, that's a great skill. But if you can lead, you get other people to build and sell for you. But if you can't lead, you will suffer. And after you've talked to 1,000 roofing company owners or 2,000 roofing companies, you've worked with 500 roofing company owners. Yeah, I can pretty much talk to a roofing company owner in 2-3 hours, and I can probably predict within 75% accuracy whether or not they're going to succeed or not. And it's heartbreaking for me to like have to either say, guys, we can't sell this person and we shouldn't sell this person. And if we sell this person, we're going to make our success team's lives hell. Or we have to create some other leadership coaching type product where we don't build a CRM, we just coach people on leadership. So your salespeople are going to have to lead. You have to know how to lead them. And that means you have to study leadership. Like, after yesterday, I just want to pass that message on that, like, become and focus on leadership and don't lie to yourself about it. Sales skills, obviously. Time awareness. This is something that some of the salespeople, that when they transition to inside outside sales, we forget that, like, now we have an inside sales who's scheduling us appointments. You can't take 3 hours and talk about the spoon collection because you have another appointment. You have a teammate counting on you. Right? There's salespeople out there who do that. You know who you are, where your sales appointments always take forever and go long. Which the ability to prevent that is the ability to follow a process and to stay time aware. Then using a cell phone to take pictures and recording a video on a cell phone is another very powerful skill. I won't say that this one is necessarily required, but by a year from now, it might be required. Climbing a roof or flying a drone. So again, when we roll this out, new people want to do it, and someone's watching this video a year from now and they're just getting into this position, yes, you have to climb a roof or you have to be able to fly a drone, because you need to be able to assess roof damage, diagnose leaks, and think 3-dimensionally so that you can overcome objections based on data, based on facts about their roof. So there's 5 steps to be successful in this. 1 is to push the on the way button in Arrivee and drive to the property. Now, this is skewed towards our clients because this is made for our clients, but outcome of this is that you have to tell the customer you're on the way and how long you're going to be. So the customer is prepared to meet and greet you at the front door. And we usually push some more buttons in here to keep people in the loop. Then you want to document your site conditions in CompanyCam, following a checklist, annotate your photos, and record a video walkthrough. And I'm suggesting this more and more and more become a requirement. So once you've done these things, then you have to build and present your findings and your proposal and ask for the business, overcome the objections and get the deal. And then you connect with your inside sales and you get back in your vehicle before you put the vehicle in drive. So we'll jump into the tools that make this possible. The first tool is CompanyCam. So there are 4 features of the tool that help. One of them is checklists. So you can create your own checklists. You can go in RBP. They have a section in the community checklist area where you can download the RBP inspection checklist. It does not matter what necessarily one that you do. I like this one because it follows a natural human process. It's like walk up to the driveway, documenting driveway issues, ideal dumpster location, what might get hit by debris tossing the shingles to the dumpster location. The idea is we're trying to like disassemble or assemble the roof in pieces and walk around the house. Like the checklist is kind of designed to be something where you could go up and down it like it makes sense as you're going around the roof. And there's little descriptions in there, but you can make your own. The point is to force yourself to follow a process and then turn edit mode on so that you annotate your photos 70% of the time. That is a requirement of the platform program. I'm willing to tell you that you need to fire somebody if they are unwilling to annotate 70% of their photos, because I've got the data. It's proven it works. I don't have to argue about it anymore. So put the edit mode on. And then what that does is it allows you to document the site conditions and tell a story about the roof. And that if a picture is worth 1,000 words, right, a video's worth 1,000,000. And this is why we believe in doing the video walkthroughs. And if you look at some of the top salespeople in the country, that's what they talk about. They have this walkthrough mode, but there's a camera on the front of your phone, and it takes the camera on the back of your phone, and you can record a video of you going through the roof and explaining the stuff on there. And it brings the customer on the roof. They can see this three-dimensionally. You can move around and show that. And you can show stuff about the hail damage. And then these actually make great social media videos because they're good value. They show people stuff about the roof. Like this helps you grow your business and ultimately helps you close more deals. And I want to make sure that you can adopt a consultative selling sales approach, which is where you're not just the guy who goes, damage, sign this. That's like, I just met a company yesterday. They 32% gross profit, decent close rate, 3% net, 20 million bucks, but they don't get a presentation. They just go, you have damage, sign this, we'll get to work. And I know that I can just crank this company up if I just go, you have damage, here's why you might want to work with us. If you want to do that, sign this. And just by doing that, we can get that gross profit up 8%. We can get that net profit up 8%. We can probably get the closing rate up a little bit too, because the customer goes, oh, I have damage. That's a problem. Well, I guess I need to solve that problem. Oh, I signed this to solve the problem? Oh, okay. That feels like a big jump. Like, is everybody the same? Or like, and then you just, if it's an assumptive sale in a way, but it should be, oh, I have damage. That sounds like a problem. I really want to get that fixed. Why would I give you this work? Oh, you do all these great things? Oh, awesome. Okay, well, yeah, if you do all those great things, sounds like you're a good choice. Okay. But we need to get that conversation. And then we got SumoQuote. This features a SumoQuote. They're going to help you sell as an outside sales and make more money as an outside sales. Is the introduction from the owner page, the compare contractor page, hero pages, price descriptions, and color swatches. And I love this tool. Like, SumoQuote and I used to be like bestest friends, and we've done so many of these freaking SumoQuotes. It's crazy. We've gotten tons of testimonials over the years. We've created doubling in close rates and improvements in close rates from the work that we've done with SumoQuote and like other stuff. But like there's other pieces to it, like that 70% annotated photos. That's the secret trick behind all of it. That is such a foundational piece of making this work is the annotated photos. But SumoQuote's kind of the sexy sizzle on top, right? And so it starts with this introduction from the owner page. If you go and use this introduction from the owner page for a while, what might happen over time is you'll start to say, oh yeah, this is a quick letter from the owner, just tells you a little bit what we're about, and you guys can read that later. And that's where, if I've had customers on this for a while, I'm like, that's probably how you're doing it, right? And the sales guys go, haha, yeah. And it's like, well, that's actually a mistake. This page is not here to give the customer something to read later. We don't want them to read it later because we want them to buy now. This introduction from the owner page is our reminder to talk about the company, but it should be practiced, drilled, and rehearsed. It should be role played. Like we should know how to tell the story about the company. And this should serve as just the reminder that we're supposed to talk about that. Because if we're not talking about who we are uniquely as a company, we sound like everybody else, right? Every other roofer is going to come to the house to say that we're the best. We have the best shingles. We have the best crews. We care the most. And customers like, great. So what? How? Can you prove it? Like there's nothing that defines those things. And so we have to try and find ways to define it. So part of our process is this thing called value extraction, where we try and push you. We'll try and say like, great. So what? How? Can you prove it? Like, how do you tactically say that you're better than most or others, or that you are actually unique? Like, we almost have to push you and say, every single one of you in the room is selling the same shingles installed the same way by the same kind of people using the same tools in the same amount of time for pretty much the same price. Why can't all of you go out of business? The answer to that question is what goes into value extraction, because then we can clearly communicate it. But if we can't answer that question, that means if you can't answer that question, then customers can't answer that question. And if they can't answer that question, they will say they need to think about it, because they do. So an easy way to kind of talk about this is, how much do you guys charge for CompanyCam? Is anybody new in the room charging money for CompanyCam? You charging your customers to use it? No. Pretty much everybody in the room said they use CompanyCam, and yet very few people talk about the fact that they use CompanyCam. And if I go and read the Google reviews, so I'll just put somebody on the spot here. Alrighty. DreamWorks. Let's go check them out. Reviews. Now, this won't be perfect because we usually do this slower. Okay, so based on this, right? This is what everything that they're advertising should be saying, and it should be ways to prove it, right? To prove it. How do we prove it? CompanyCam can prove professionalism. CompanyCam can prove quality of work. CompanyCam can prove efficiency and timeliness, right? Showing that we did things on time. It can prove the customer service, communication, responsiveness. It can prove the trustworthiness because this is our visual work order. They can prove attention to detail because the annotations, obviously, use of technology, and this CompanyCam tool allows us to reward our teammates for catching leaks and stuff like that. You can talk about CompanyCam through the lens of each of these things, but it's overwhelmingly positive around communication. A lot of this stuff just boils down to communicating. They kept us in the loop. We knew what they were going to do. We knew what was going to come next. It was professional. Like it, even in professionalism, it's like they said they were knowledgeable. Knowledgeable, it means that they communicated knowledge. When they say they are professional, I mean, it's usually professional in their communication. So communication is huge. And so this is why we usually have a hero page talking about those things, because we have to talk about the stuff that our previous customers said were good. We have to prove it somehow up front so they don't need to think about it. So that by the time we get to the point where we're talking about price, we can go line by line and show them what they're going to get. We can show them the features and the benefits of those things. But as we show them these things, we can increase the price because the value is in excess of the price, and we're showing them more. When you talk about that apron in that video on your Facebook, right, for the sidewall flashing, all of a sudden you just added value to this product being there on there. And if the other guy doesn't have that on the list, you don't know if you're getting it, Mr. Customer. And that's might be the reason why our bid is a little bit more, is because we're making sure that everything that you asked for is going to be on the quote. Now, before we ask for the business, I usually like, because you know what the customer's thinking is coming next. If you've gone through and you've shown you talked about you and the company, and you've talked about the differences, and you've shown a bunch of hero pages about upgrades and about communication and about the product, you get to this point, you know what the customer's thinking. What do they think is next? What is the next step? What do they know is coming? How much? I like to put one more stop in between, which is I like to talk about something different than just the price. I want to talk about either an upgrade or what it's going to be like on the install. I want to assume the sale, or I want to have a color that I prompt them with and say, hey, by the way, I think this, so I've shown you everything that's going to go on your roof. I think this would be a great color. This one works really well because it's kind of like shakes up the brain a bit and goes, oh yeah, this is part of a greater exterior remodel. Like this is not just changing the roof color. It gets them to see this as part of that budget that they plan for the whole exterior of the house, not just the roof. But then we ask them for the business after usually one more slide. It's just like the same psychology as like one more thing at Apple or the TV marketing guy who goes, like the slap chop guy, and one more thing, you get a free knife for paring apples or something like that, right? Like this is the one more thing, right? Then you ask for the business. It's this proven psychology of sales. So we want to take advantage of all those. So now I want to talk about arriving, right? And arriving is the one that less people know about. But Arrive is a tool that gives customers the Uber experience, right? If it's set up properly, if it's set up stupidly, it gets you into trouble because it is very much a real-time communication tool. So just like if your Uber driver says they're coming to drop off your food and they'll be there in 7 minutes, and they go, I want to stop and grab a coffee and a Danish while I'm on my way. And then now it's 12 minutes. It's still earlier than planned, maybe, but they said 7 minutes and then they chose to get a coffee and a Danish. Like you set this up and you use it improperly. It's a very much a real-time communication tool, and you have to be aware of that you're using it. But it also keeps inside sales in the loop, and it creates this communication between teammates too. And that's the other thing that makes for really great teams is good communication between teammates in real time. But the best way to explain how this works is to actually tell you a story about Anna. Anna goes downstairs and she says, babe, I think we need to call a roofer because there's water all over the floor. And he says, yeah, sure. Can you call and get some guys out? So she says, yeah, last night there's a storm. Can you come and look at my roof? And they say, yeah, sure. And she goes, okay, I'm just going to wait patiently and model my outfit. She's going to sit there and wait patiently, right? While she's waiting for the roofers to come. And it takes a while. So she kind of gets a little bored. She's thinking, where are these guys? And so she says she's going to go upstairs and take care of some laundry. And then all of a sudden, knock, knock, knock. And Brutus is now freaking out at the door. And he's really upset. And he's like, what's going on? You guys are clearly here to kidnap my mom. And everybody needs to know about it. And then she's like, oh, no, I got to go get to Brutus. So she goes downstairs. She kind of wrestles him off at the door. She pulls it over. He knocks over a flower pot. And she's like, it's about time. I'm like, oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, we just ran into traffic. It's the winter, slow something, right? And she's like, yeah, whatever. So she's like, yeah, Andy was late. I don't know how long he's going to be. Can you go pick up the kids? Because he's still up there. And then you come down to present your findings. You open the door and you realize you just activated Karen mode. She's got a bob haircut and she's ready to talk to the manager. And this is what Arrive fixes, is it keeps your customer in the loop. It's a communication tool that keeps your customer in the loop. All this is designed to help you close more deals. So all you have to do is come down, present to a happy customer, and start objection handling. And there's only 3 kinds of objections. You've got circumstances, you got others, and you got self. Circumstances come out as time, money, and fit. They don't have the time, they don't have the money, that's too much money, they don't believe that it should cost that much money. Fit, they want a repair instead of a replacement, or want a replacement instead of repair, or they don't like your process, right? The fit of the process isn't good. They don't like the way that you do it, right? They think that the business process could be done differently. Then it's others, right? These are the easiest objections to get rid of. Then you get to the others. These ones are slightly harder. This is the wife, the partner, the friend in Sheboygan who's a contractor who said, call me before you buy anything, right? And then you have the self, right? You get to the empowered self, the person who's empowered to make a decision. And the thing is that they don't know how to make a decision. We have to teach them. But their fear is usually something in the past that happened before that they don't want to happen again, something in the present that they're concerned about, an opportunity, of something that may be potentially a better opportunity, or something they're afraid of happening in the future that might cause them to regret making the decision right now. And we have to overcome these objections by peeling away these layers. There's really no other objections other than circumstances, others, and self. And the only other one really that could be is that you suck and they don't believe you. And that's because you didn't do all the other stuff up front first. Because if we remember this, the math works. This is how we create exceptional companies, is through excellent execution of things like the power of the pods, where we get a perfectly balanced thing where this person's got 8 hours of work, this person's got 8 hours of work, and this person's 8 hours of work. And executed properly, we create high performance companies. And then all we have to do is focus on the leading indicators of success in outside sales, which is not to prejudge deals, to treat every customer the same, to be on time every time, to follow the process every time, to try and be the hero of your pod, to target a personal 30% close rate minimum and a 40% gross profit minimum. That's not the best performing, but that's the way you have to set yourself as minimums. And then have clean, clear communication with the inside sales. And that's in the form of how much money can we make? When can we make it? Why don't we have it yet? What are we going to do about it? And when are we going to do it? What are the hot buttons to lead to the sale? And doing annotations and video walkthroughs. 70% of your photos should be annotated every time, no exceptions, as if someone's going to chop off your hand for the cardinal sin of not annotating 70% of your photos. And video walkthroughs are becoming more and more the thing that you need to do to be standing out. So your homework is really going to focus, if you're an outside salesperson, is going to focus on some professional development. and really getting yourself ingrained in the best practices of sales. Right. And I don't just want to talk about my content. There's lots of other people's content out there. Well, this is available to you for free. Your boss doesn't have to go buy it. And like Adam that gives away tons of training. I give away tons of training. Lots of people do. The secret to this is if you buy the training, it's put into chapters and organized for us to make it nice and easy for you. Well, here's the magic trick. Just watch all of it. And you don't have to worry about the chapters. Your car is a sales university. If you're not making 200,000 a year as a sales guy, why are you listening to Joe Rogan or music? Like, you should be immersing yourself in the talent and skills of sales until such time as you can take a customer completely from cold to closed in one sitting, and that you can convey the value in excessive price and walk away with a signed roof deal. And then you can transfer that knowledge to your inside sales team so they can model, mimic, and master your language. You're going to learn, and then you're going to earn. That's the order in which it goes. You have to become the person that can earn what you want to earn before you get to earn what you want to earn. You have to become that person. And in order to do that, you have to learn. And then that comes with the product knowledge as well. So you have to be the passionate professional expert. You have to be someone that the customers would want to buy shingles from, because you're better than anybody at aligning those products and your services to the problems that they have, because you can put the value in excessive price. And this is the magic trick, is making the customer feel confident and competent in their ability to decide, and they will. They feel confident and competent in their ability to decide, they will. They don't contemplate buying stamps or buying milk at the grocery store because they know what they want. They feel confident and competent in their ability to decide. So put them in that place and use the tools that you are given to do that, and just use them to the best of your ability and increase your ability gradually over time with this constant desire to learn and get better until you are the best. You just outwork the best for twice as long and you will become the best. We're getting to the point now where I get to thank you for your attention today. If you guys got value from this, let us know. If you guys enjoyed it, this is the end of the 3-part series. I hope you guys walk away, change your behavior. If you guys have more questions, happy to answer your questions or reach out to our team for more. Thank you. Have a good day.